Okay, here's section 4.3 notes, factors that affect ecosystems and so on. Okay, so with terrestrial biomes, okay, we have soil. Okay, is a big factor. What can grow there, how moist it is, okay, what the quality is. So the quality and volume of the soil are indicators of biome diversity. High quality soil has a thick layer of topsoil. Topsoil has dead organic matter we call humus. A thick, high quality soil has the ability to provide nutrients to sustain growth of the many producers. The more producers, the more consumers. So again, like it really comes down with a lot of these biomes to what is their soil. The more plants it can grow, the more animals that can be there to live off those plants. Okay, the soil can be broken in different layers. So the litter is our top upper layer. Okay, it protects the grass. It prevents the loss of water and limits the temperature variations. Okay, the topsoil is beneath the litter, so it's composed of small particles of rock and humus, okay, and a rich supply of nutrients. That topsoil is kind of what helps plants to grow. The subsoil contains more rock content and less organic matter than the topsoil. And then we have our bedrock, which is the layer of rock, okay, which is underneath our subsoil. Okay, so kind of just the litter is like different things that are on top, okay, that protect kind of what's underneath. Okay, then we have our topsoil, and it's composed of like any dead elements that are going to be broken down into it. So the humus, oops, and then our subsoil, okay, composed of rock, particles, and minerals, and then our bedrocks underneath where nothing really grows. Water is another big factor that affects different terrestrial biomes. So the ability or available water is based on the amount and type of precipitation. So the types of precipitation, we get snow, rain, sleet, hail. Okay, but some of them would give off a lot more, add more water to the system than others. So when added to nutrients, the available water increases producer production. So again, we know producers, they need minerals from the soil, okay, especially like the nitrogen from the nitrogen cycle. Okay, they need water and then they need sunlight in order to grow. Okay, so soil types allow for the storage of water for plant growth. Okay, and that's why, like, when we look back at the different layers and stuff, like this subsoil here, the rocks actually add layers that then the water can fit in and stuff because of it's not so tightly packed. Okay, temperature is another big factor. Okay, it's part of our overall climate of the area. So temperature changes with the seasons. Organisms change their behavior to suit the temperature of the season. So birds will fly south, bears will hibernate. Or simply, organisms become more active at night when the temperatures are cooler, okay, or more active during the day. Okay, some of the different animals might change, their fur might change color, okay, to give them better shelter. Okay, and then not shelter, but camouflage. Okay, another big thing is sunlight. The amount of solar radiation is also affected by the seasons. So sunlight drives photosynthesis. With appropriate water and soil nutrients, there's abundance of materials for producers to grow. Biomes with all three have high populations throughout their trophic levels. Okay, so if you think like tropical rainforest has lots of sunlight because it's near the equator, lots of water. It doesn't really have its seasons other than maybe rainy and dry, but like the trees will keep their leaves year round. Okay, and so it has a high population through all trophic levels. Okay, compared to like the Arctic, okay, it doesn't, like, there's times in the winter where it has zero sunlight. Okay, and so nothing's really, not the same amount of stuff's able to grow there. Nothing can grow as big or last as long. Okay, factors affecting aquatic ecosystems. Okay, so now we're looking at aquatic. It's kind of cut off there, but we're looking first at the chemical environment. Okay, so this includes the type of water, whether it's salt water or fresh water, the amount of oxygen. so dissolved oxygen concentration, and other dissolved substances such as nitrogen and phosphorus. Okay, the chemical environment will affect or will allow for growth of all organisms. Some other factors similar to factors that we had for terrestrial or temperature and sunlight. Okay, their change bases on the seasons and the depth of the water, right? Sunlight can only reach so far down, and same with the temperature. Okay, the water on the top layer will change temperature a lot quicker than the water on the bottom layer. Solar radiation increases the water temperature, and then the depth decreases the water temperature. So like the further you go down, the colder the water is. Okay, and then there's also pressure. As you go down in depth of your aquatic ecosystem, you have an increased pressure the further you go down. Okay, one thing to kind of note, okay, and you should definitely know this, water is most dense at 4 degrees Celsius. Okay, so something to kind of highlight or jot a note down for when you're doing your quizzes. Okay, so because of that temperature, again, most dense means like it's closest together. That's most particles per area, right, is density. And so in spring, we have no ice, so oxygen can dissolve easily into the water. As the water on the top of the lake warms to 4 degrees Celsius, so it was cooler than that, might have been frozen. As it warms to 4 degrees Celsius, that water now begins to sink because it's the most dense. So the water on top layer that absorbs all the oxygen sinks down to the bottom layer. This pushes the cooler water up, causing the water in the lake to mix, which we kind of call a spring turnover. In the summer, the temperature of the entire lake eventually reaches 4 degrees Celsius. Once it reaches this, it no longer will sink. So the surface will continue to increase. Okay, now it's going to be, again, above 4 degrees Celsius. Since 4 degrees Celsius is kind of that key number, it's not going to sink anymore because 4 is the most dense. Okay, and so as the layers warm on top, it'll get cooler down below. The uppermost layer, called our epiluminin, it's our warmest layer, okay, followed by the thermocline, okay, and lastly the hypoliminin, okay, which is our coldest layer. Okay, the seasonal variations, so we have water or fall. Okay, so fall, the water begins to cool at the surface, so kind of the opposite of spring. So in spring, the water warms up, gets to 4, and it sinks. Now the water begins to cool. As it cools, once it reaches that 4 degrees Celsius, it starts to sink again. Now it's warmer or it's cooler than the warmer water underneath, which then gets pushed up. Okay, and so then we have fall turnover. And then in the winter, ice covers the lake and insulates. So under the ice, the water is kind of in layers. The top layer is around 0 degrees Celsius or less, because that's where we get our ice. Okay, underneath it goes 0, or like 0, 1, 2, 3, and then our densest water is 4 degrees at the bottom. Okay, and it's important that 4 degrees is the most dense, because then underneath the ice, things can still live there. Okay, so kind of just showing our cycles. Okay, so in spring, okay, the water starts to heat up, sinks down, okay, brings up new water to be heated until everything's at 4 degrees Celsius. Once you're at 4 degrees Celsius, okay, that water kind of gets down to the bottom, that 4 degrees, and so like it just kind of continues the cycle, just mostly at the top. Okay, there's not a lot of cycle. Okay, now in the fall, the water starts to cool once it gets down to 4 degrees. Again, it turns over. And then in the winter, we have this ice cover, and then it gets cooler as you go down, or warmer as you go down. Okay, so you should know the cycles of ponds. Okay, and hopefully it'll help you as you're working through your assignments. Let me know if you have any questions.